ഹരി 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 ഓം തത്സത്. ജയ ഗുരു, ജയ ഗുരു. ശുദ്ധോ ബുദ്ധോ വിമുക്തഃ ശ്രുതിശിഖരഗിരാം മുഖ്യതാത്പര്യഭൂമി യസ്മാജ്ജാതം സമസ്തം ജഗദിദമൃതാദ്വ്യാപ്യ സർവം സ്ഥിതോ യഃ യസ്യാം ശാംശാവതാരൈഃ സുരനരവനജൈർരക്ഷിതം സർവമേതത് തം ഭൂമാനം മുകുന്ദം ഹൃദിഗതമമലം കൃഷ്ണമേവ പ്രപദ്യേ. തം ഭൂമാനം മുകുന്ദം ഹൃദിഗതമമലം കൃഷ്ണമേവ പ്രപദ്യേ. മദീയഹൃദയാകാശേ സദാനന്ദമയോ ഗുരുഃ ഉദേതു സതതം സമ്യക് സ്വാത്മാനന്ദ പ്രബോധകഃ. ഹരി 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 ഓം തത്സത്. ജയ ഗുരു. As usual, we shall have the 3 times chorus recitation of Omkara. Set your mind in such a manner that the chorus recitation will permeate the whole of the earth and shower its benedictions on all living beings on the earth. Interlock your fingers, sit comfortably, close your eyes, open the mouth and the heart and join me. Hari Hari Hari. Now we shall recite the Bhagavad Gita shloka from the 2nd chapter, 7th shloka of the 2nd chapter. All of you follow me. Karpanya doshopahatah swabhavaha.
Karpanya doshopahatah swabhavaha.
Karpanya doshopahatah.
Karpanya doshopahatah
swabhavaha.
Swabhavaha.
Karpanya doshopahatah swabhavaha.
Karpanya doshopahatah swabhavaha.
Pritchami tvam.
Pritchami tvam.
Dharma sammudha-cheta.
Dharma sammudha-chetaha.
Yachreyasyaad.
Yachreyasyaad.
Nishchitam bruhi tanme.
Nishchitam bruhi tanme.
Shishyasteham.
Shishyasteham.
Shadhimam.
Shadhimam.
Tvam prapannam.
Tvam prapannam.
Shishyasteham.
Shishyasteham.
Shadhimam
Shadhimam
Tvam Prapannam.
Tvam Prapannam.
What did we speak last time? It is quite a few weeks I have not been able to address you. See, we were discussing a very important portion in the 3rd chapter. The entire 3rd chapter of Bhagavad Gita is devoted to a discussion, analysis and relevance of karma, activity, either in the world or in the human world. This chapter is very important in as much as it tells you how indispensable is to remain active in this world. The entire world can be likened to a cosmic wheel in a state of activity. It consists of several segments. I showed you also a picture. What are the different segments? How each leads to the other, and there is an overall connection and consistency in the whole process. Now, 2 important points, particularly 2 words, are striking there. One is karma, another is yajna. The word karma refers to activity. Activity. So far as we are concerned, our activity is primarily in the level of the body and the senses. That alone is gross, and that alone is visible. The activity of the mind, intelligence, ego, etc. are invisible. Not visible, invisible. So this activity can never be dispensed with at all. Every one of us is taking food, having our food. Food provides nourishment to the body, and this nourishment generates energy. And the energy requires to be spent in the form of activity. So as long as you live and you eat and nourish your body, you cannot avoid activity at all. What more do you want? Whatever we want to achieve in the spiritual field will have to be achieved remaining active, conforming to the laws and processes of activity. This is the point that is driven home here. After discussing what is that wheel of activity, finally we ended up saying, Evam pravartidam chakram na anuvartayadi haya aghayurindriya ramo mogham partha sajivadi. It's a very sweeping statement by Krishna. Evam pravartidam chakram na anuvartayadi haya. Whoever is not following, adhering to this wheel of activity, which is constantly in a state of motion with the whole universe, whoever does not conform to it, he says, Aghayur indriya ramaha. His life is a waste. Indriya ramaha. He is given only to sensory pleasures, like animals, birds and reptiles. Mogham partha sajivadi. He is actually living here a very sinful life, degenerating life, destructive, self-destructive life. This much Krishna has made very clear. All our karmas can never be dismissed at all. Then, while remaining active, shall we be able to attain the Supreme, as was indicated in the 2nd chapter? Will we be able to become Asthita Praja and Asthita Dhi? Krishna says, yes. Yes. But how? Provided all your activities are transformed to be Yajna, something like a sacrifice. It is the activity that has to be transformed into Yajna. Activity will take place in the sensory and bodily level. The transformation has to be brought about by an attitudinal orientation which depends upon the mind. What is that attitude? What is that orientation by virtue of which all our karmas become a very great, noble and ceaseless sacrifice? This should become the question and inquiry in your mind. That also I have explained. Yajna should not be taken in a limited sense. It is not the Vedic sacrifices using fire altar, offering into the blazing fire ghee, boiled rice and so many different materials. No. Wherever there is karma, that karma has to be transformed into yajna. How this transformation can be brought about? By touching the mind, orienting the mind, enriching the mind through the intelligence. What is that orientation? Tasmad asattas satatam karyam karma samajara. Do not have any clinging to whatever you do. You will have domestic activity. You will be living with your blood and matrimonial relations at home. You will have a professional friend where you will be with your colleagues, assistants, etc. Then you will also have a societal friend where you will be familiar with a number of people belonging to other families. Whether it is in the domestic friend, professional friend or societal friend, in all these places you will have to adopt this yajna attitude. Clinging should not be there. Clinging should not be there. Clinging should not be there. If all your activities are thus transformed into yajna, you will find the benefits are too. It conduces to the welfare and prosperity of the nation, of the world. What did I say? It conduces to the welfare and prosperity of the nation, of the world. See, our country, India, has to progress quite a lot. The progress we have made is quite substantial, unimaginable even. But compared to what we are yet to have, I cannot say we have attained much, but we have attained considerably well. We have been able to withstand the impact of COVID-19. We were able to invent a vaccine, give it to countries who sought it. How many crores of people we have brought under vaccination? I think India has been much less affected than so many other countries in this world. So we can rise up to the occasion when it is necessary. We have got intelligence, we have a very good mind, we have a very good heart, and we also have love for the country, for the nation, for the society. In what way are we inferior? People are already speaking about India as the fifth economic power. According to another calculation, purchasing power, etc., parity, etc., we are the third country in the world. What do you say? There was a time when India contributed to 28% of the world GDP. Maybe we are going to reach the same blessedness before long. Maybe we will excel also. Times have changed, science and technology have advanced, and the growth has become very fast, very fast. Maybe in the last 10 years, how much we have grown, in the next 2 or 3 years we can grow even much more than that. That is the law of nature. But all this will be possible only when we have the yajna spirit and attitude in all that we do. Without the clinging, whatever act is performed, it becomes divine. It is not necessary that you offer materials to the blazing fire by igniting it in a ceremonial altar. No, not at all. Any action that you perform, either in the domestic friend, or in the professional friend, or in the societal friend, when the clinging part is avoided, the sangha is taken away, the whole action becomes a celebrated yajna, a noble divine act. Divinity is infused into what we do. Infused, mind you. And that infusion will help the world to become prosperous. From yajna arises rain. From rains we have food. That is the contribution of yajna. Irregular rains, excess rains, and short rainfall, all these are adverse to prosperity. So if we want to have a moderate rain, a rain reaching everywhere in the land, nature herself has to favor. And to bring about such a favor of nature, the spirit and purpose of yajna will be very, very critical. This is what Bhagavad Gita says. It is for all of you to think about it. You may conduct a research into the matter and verify whether Krishna's and Vedavyasa's statement is true or not. Yajna is what an individual performs. But that individual yajna has got a magnitude and a might which is universal in its measure. Universal in its measure. I think I had already told you, I don't remember where I spoke what. So many talks I give. Agastya Maharshi was coming to the south from the north. When he saw Dandakaranya, he was immensely afflicted. It was all a desert. He stopped there, sat there and started doing austerity. By virtue of the austerity he performed, it started raining. The earth became cool and vegetation started sprouting. Everything became lush green. Then only he proceeded to the south, his journey. What do you understand from this? Agastya was a single individual. He performed his wonderful austerity, as a result of which the whole land became wet by showers. When it is a question of performing something with your heart and mind, we don't necessarily have to have many people. Individuality belongs more to the body, not so much to the mind and inward. Our mind is actually universal. Everybody has the same mind, parallel minds. And its permeation is the whole universe is permeated by it. So when an individual does austerity, don't think that it is a constricted austerity. He is doing the austerity with the mind which has got a universal measure and magnitude. Naturally, the yajna, the sacrifice he does also will have the same measure and magnitude. So it becomes a contribution to the world welfare and prosperity. In other words, yajna is also enriching and enlightening you. You become infused with Brahman. So that spiritual goal is also achieved by yajna. The external contribution is economic, societal and secular. But the internal contribution is spiritual, philosophical and yogic. Both are equally accomplished. After having said that, nobody will be able to escape from activity. Everybody is bound to conform to the wheel of activity, and while being active, the activity should be transformed into yajna. Sri Krishna does not leave the subject there. He wants to say that though yajna is obligatory for all people, there are exceptions to it, or there is an exception. What is that exception? After all, this is a great text. It is a compendium. So whenever a subject is discussed, the discussion has to become comprehensive and absolute. So do you mean to say that all people in this world must be doing yajnas? Then what about the ascetics and sannyasis who renounce everything? They don't have a home. They don't have a janmasthana. They don't take up any profession or pursuit. They don't expect anything from anybody. Such people are there. Can you say they are also bound by the code of Yajna which Prajapati has enjoined? He says, no, no. I don't know whether you follow me. Nayam logostya ayajnasya kudonya kurusattama is the statement Sri Krishna makes in the 4th chapter. While performing yajna and partaking of the yajna shishta is considered to be very noble, great and rewarding, the person who does not care for performing yajna, he is lost. He has neither this world nor the other world, he says. If this absolute statement is taken up, everybody is supposed to do, then what about the ascetics, the tapasvins, the austere people? See, he says, for them this rule is not applicable. Yastvatmaredireva syad atmadruptascha manavaha atmanyeva cha santushtaha tasya karyam na vidyate. Don't think that all people in this world have equally desires, motivations, personal, material and secular goals. Our culture is not like that. Our culture is far different. Our dharma is called a Sanatana dharma. What is meant by Sanatana? Eternal. The practice of our dharma will make the practitioner Shashvata, eternal, imperishable. Not only that, our dharma itself is based upon the Sanatana principle. That is such a wonderful dharma. According to that dharma, we have Brahmacharya, Garhastya, Vanaprastha and Sannyasa. The initial part of our life, say 25 years, is given to education and educational progress. Thereafter one has got freedom to marry and bring about 1 or 2 children for perpetuating the lineage. How long will he remain at home? Till the children become adults. Once they have become adults, the parents are supposed to entrust the whole family and care to the children and they can walk off. That is called the Vanaprastha life. If they are able to lead the 3rd stage of life well and comfortably, they are free to take up sannyasa, the last. Everybody should shed his body after taking up sannyasa. Nobody should die. Everybody should leave the body. Everybody should leave the body. How? Pleasantly, cheerfully, with a sense of fulfillment, understanding the mortality and the short-living nature of the body and knowing that my bodily term is over. Nobody knows when he was born. Is the birth the knowledge of any one of you? We were told by the mother that we were born. I am your mother, this is your father. This is what the mother communicated to us and we trusted her words. We believed. We don't know about our birth. And nobody has known about his or her death also. As I always say, can you find anybody who will come up and then say, I have died and I am in X place? My dear souls, none of you is born and none of you will die. The body alone was born and the body will die. You are not the body at all. The body is yours. You are different from the body. This is the spinal cord of our dharma. The word Sanatana means imperishable, immortal, everlasting, permanent. Whatever you call I, that first personal pronoun, it denotes such an imperishable presence which animates your body. That imperishable presence is the core of our dharma. Everything is revolving around it. Arjuna totally crumbled in the battlefield of Kurukshetra after having seen both the armies, especially his grandfather and teacher, commanding the opponent's army. He crumbled, such an illustrious fighter. Then what happened? Krishna started speaking to him about the imperishable soul. Natvevaham jadunasam natvam neme janadhipaha najaiva na bhavishyamaha sarve vayamadav param. Arjuna, listen to me. There was no time when I was not. Equally so, there was no time when you were not. The same is the truth with Bhishma and Drona. There was no time when they were not. There is not going to be a time when we shall cease to be. If you are now, you were earlier, and you will be later. Existence never knows extinction. To be is to be, to have been, and to be again. Never speak of death at all. Never speak of birth also. What you denote by the term I is a permanence. It is an everlastingness. It is imperishable. The body is perishable. The perishable body lives only because of the imperishable animation it receives from the soul. See, what is this? This is called Sanatana Dharma. That is the backbone of our culture and civilization. Our children are taught about it right at the time of education, which extends to something like 23, 24 years. 6 shastras were taught. Everywhere you will find a reference to the soul, the Sanatana nature of our dharma. So after education, those people who want to get married, they have 1 or 2 children to replace themselves. They entrust the family care to them and then say, we are going to do austerity. So far we could not do it. We were secular people. Our interests were secular, but they cannot be always secular. So we want to retire from family life. If they succeed, they will become sannyasins. To be a sannyasin means what? To be universal in your outlook, universal in your thoughts, in everything. Now such people, yastva atmaradhireva syat, atmatraptasya manavaha, atmanyeva cha santushtaha, tasya karyam na vidyate. Why did Agastya Maharshi feel for the desert land? And why did he resort to a tapasya, an austerity? And how is it that a single Agastya's austerity brought about widespread rain to make the whole land lush green? My dear souls, this is a point of research. Don't shut the doors of your mind and understanding. Conduct research into it. Our body is limited. It is made of dead matter, inert matter. But our mind is not the body. It is not material. It is not energial. It is spiritual. Even the air in you is pervading. I am sitting here in Vijnana Bhavan. A few others are also around me. The air in me and the air in them. The air in the neighbors. Everywhere it is the same. So that permeation is there within in the inner personality. What should be the permeation of the I then? We have got a universal measure and magnitude in the I that we are referring to every day. So when an individual does an austerity, That austerity is not a coordinate of the body he has. It is a coordinate of the universal presence called the I, the self in him. Naturally, its effect also becomes universal. So he says, for such people, yahatu atmaradireva syat, who takes to contemplation, meditation, infusional introspection, tattva vichara, and by virtue of that, those people who are able to rejoice in their own I, in their own self, in their own spiritual presence animating the body, atmatriptascha, contented by themselves, manavaha, whichever human does so, atmanyevacha santushtaha, they find all the contentment, revelry, rejoicing in themselves. Tasya karyam na vidyade. He has nothing in the way of a duty to perform. Don't say he must also be doing yajna. He doesn't want anything from anybody. They want nothing. They want nothing from you. Neither from the government, nor from the society, nor from anybody. Their philosophy is the philosophy of nothingness. They are so enriched, so elevated, so enlightened, so universalized that they don't find a second factor anywhere at all. Only when there are more people you have a feeling of duty towards them. Only when there are many things your mind thinks of desiring for some. So they have no desire, they have no possessiveness, they have no expectation, and nobody can expect anything from them. If I expect nothing from the government, what shall I do to them? So our mind can reach to such a level of exaltation. Understand it. Atmanyeva cha santushtaha tasya karyam na vidyade. While Krishna said that yajna is obligatory, Prajapati has enjoined it on the human beings and everybody should do it. Rains depend upon the yajna coordinate of the human society. The welfare and prosperity of the land depend upon the yajna. All this he said. But he also instantly adds, as you find in some of our enactments, the provisions of this act are not applicable to X, Y, and Z. Here also he has presented that exemption. Yastvatmaridineva syat atmatriptascha manavaha atmanyeva cha santushtaha tasya karyam na vidyade. When you are fulfilled by the thought of the self, by realization of the self, by infusion with the self, that lifts you up from ordinary all standards. You become totally spiritual, divine and transcendental. And nobody can come up and say, such a person also should do this. It is not possible. Our shastras are only till one realizes the self. For one who has realized the self and who adheres to that realization, shastras simply say, we keep away. All the shastras are born of such people. This point has to be understood very well. Karmanya karma yaf pasyet akarmanija karma yaha sa buddhiman manushyeshu sa yuktaha krishna karma kriti. In the 4th chapter, verse number 18 runs like this. I shall explain to you, Arjuna, what is called karma, what is called akarma, and what is called vikarma. Krishna says, what is karma? Activity or action. Akarma means non-action. Vikarma means a very special action which is forbidden also. Though he said, I will tell you karma, akarma and vikarma, He explained only karma and akarma, never spoke about vikarma. This verse is very intriguing. Karmanya karmayah pasyet, akarmanicha karmayaha, sa buddhiman manusyeshu sa yuktaha krishna karma krit. Would you like to recite this verse? Okay, follow me. Karmanya karmayah pasyet,
Karmanya karmayah pasyet,
karmanya karmayah pasyet,
Karmanya karmayah pasyet,
akarmani cha karmaya,
Akarmani cha karmayah,
akarmani cha karmaya,
Akarmani cha karmayah,
sabuddhiman manusyeshu,
Sabuddhiman manusyeshu,
sayukta krishna karma krite,
Sayuktaha krishna karma krit,
sayukta krishna karma krite.
Sayuktaha krishna karma krit.
My dear viewers, are you serious? Are you at least loving? Are you earnest? These are very, very lofty statements. It is always a great challenge to the intellectuals. The proposition is set. Mind you, it is a part of the spontaneous dialogue that transpired in the battlefield of Kurukshetra, looking at Arjuna, who was overpowered by grief, fear, doubt and delusion. It was not with a big plan that Krishna spoke. It was a spontaneous talk. And in that spontaneity, what great truths have been brought forth. See what he says here. I will explain to you what is karma and akarma, he says. What is karma? Karmani akarma yapashyet. Karmani means in action, in actions, activity. Akarma yapashyet. You must be able to perceive non-action in action. What is meant by perceiving non-action in action? As long as we are living, you will also be acting. We look at the body of the man and then say, here is X. You can only look at the body, you cannot see the soul. Soul is invisible. But is the man the body? No, he is the soul. Nevertheless, you only see the body. But when you look at the body, that body is animate, it is living. So the livingness of the body, tell me, does it belong to the body or to the soul? Am I clear? Or am I making fun? Suppose a man is lying dead. You will look at the body and then say, there is no man, he is dead. Suppose there is a living body, then also you are looking at the body. You are not looking at the soul. But looking at the body, you say, here is a living man, a living human. That reference, is it to the body or is it to the soul? Karmanya karmayah pasyet. That animating presence, that spiritual sannidhya, which is animating the panchabhautik body, material body, is it acting? No. Why? Why? It is not physical. It is not material. It is not external. It is not gross. What is physical, material, external and gross? The body. And the body is acting. While the body is acting, the spiritual presence that animates the body Does it act? Certainly not. It is only present. It is present in the body, non-actingly. It is present not merely in the body, in the whole universal display. Being universal in magnitude, can it ever act? It cannot be acted upon by anything at all. So even when the body and the senses are found to be active, you must be able to see that here is a living man whose body and senses are active. But that livingness in him is a property or quality of the soul, and that soul is different from the body. It is all-pervading, and this action cannot be ascribed to or attributed to the soul. So when externally one is active, inwardly in the soul level, nobody is active. Similarly, akarmanicha karmayaha. When a person remains quiet, saying that I am not going to do anything, I will not do anything, it is only a physical claim that he makes. But in the body, blood is circulating, heart is beating, lungs are bellowing, heat is generated, everything is taking place there. Still he says, I am not acting, I have withdrawn from activity. In that inactivity, you must be able to see intense activity taking place within. So there are two kinds of perception here. Karmani akarma, akarmani karma. In the intense activity, you must be able to find the presence of the soul which animates and activates the body. That soul is not at all active. It is universal, still and full. In the seeming inactivity of a person, you should understand this inactivity is only bodily. Inside the body, there are so many activities taking place. The food taken is digested. It is assimilated, absorbed, transformed into blood. Respiration is going on. Fecal matter is generated and ready to be evacuated. Akarmanicha karmayaha sa buddhiman manushyeshu sa yuktaha krishna karma kridu. When he has a right evaluation about the bodily activity and equally the right evaluation about the still presence of the soul, that person is called the most wise person, buddhiman manushyeshu, amongst humanity. Sa yuktaha. He is the one who is spiritually integrated, a yukta, Krishna karma kridu. He is the one who does all activities because of his perception. He feels that he has a universal measure and magnitude, and the entire world is subsisting on this, and the whole world is vibrant and active. Sa yuktaha Krishna karma kridu. What is the meaning of this verse then? The person who understands the soul, realizes the soul and its universal measure and magnitude, it is that man who encourages and helps universal activity. Just see, Agastyadeva's austerity, single person's austerity, resulted in heavy rainfall and the whole land became lush green. How? An individual. Was the austerity done by the body? Certainly not. The austerity was done, it was a pursuit of his mind and intelligence. The non-physical, metaphysical and spiritual factors and constituents in his personality. Though it is a little difficult, I cannot say it is difficult, you must be able to think about it as a part of Gita, very important. Naiva tasya kritena artho na kritena ekha kaschana na chasya sarva bhuteshu kaschid arthavyapashrayah. To continue the theme, this is verse number 18, recited, following my recitation. Naiva tasya kridenartho
Naiva tasya kritenartho
na krideneha kaschana
na kriteneha kaschana
na chasya sarvabhuteshu
na chasya sarvabhuteshu
kaschidardhavyapashrayah
कश्चिदर्थव्यपाश्रयः
कश्चिदर्थव्यपाश्रयः
कश्चिदर्थव्यपाश्रयः.
My dear souls, these are the spiritual dimensions hosted by your living body, your living personality. These are the spiritual dimensions. Naiva tasya kritena arthaha. A man who has been drowned in his self-realization, he has nothing to gain by any activity performed by the body, even by the mind and intelligence. Nagriteneha kaschana. There is no necessity for him to take to non-activity also. Either by doing or by non-doing, he has nothing to gain. Nachasya sarvabhuteshu kaschid arthavyapashrayah. There are so many different kinds of beings in this world. From none he expects anything at all. His mind becomes so full, his intelligence becomes so complete. They are inundated by fulfillment, freedom, abundance, ecstasy, superfluity, profusion. Our mind is capable of achieving this kind of a profusion. Don't think that the mind is fated to be lamenting. Certainly not. Our mind is not a part of the body. It is not anything physical or energial. Because it is spiritual, its dimensions are also equally spiritual. And these dimensions he is indicating here. Naiva tasya kritena arthaha. By doing any activity, he has nothing to achieve or gain. By not doing or refraining from any activity also, he has nothing to achieve. Sarva bhuteshu kaschid arthavyapashrayah na. Let there be millions of beings upon the earth. He has no dependence, no expectation. He does not look for anything at all, either from a mosquito, or from an elephant, or from a rhinoceros, or from a tiger, or from a cow or a buffalo. Kaschid arthavyapashrayah. To which extent the human mind can be taken to fulfillment. All of you have umpteen desires. Never will the desires be fulfilled in full, one after the other. As a contrast to such a mind, here is an ascetic, here is a self-seer who has no dependence, yearning or expectation from anything whatsoever. When the mind has reached such a state, where is the question of any obligation? Obligation from whom and for whom? This is called spirituality. Spirituality is an enrichment of the mind and the intelligence through a process of enlightenment. It becomes so full, so abundant, so affluent that it has no need for anything at all. You are always looking for gross articles of the world in order that you may become happy, prosperous, peaceful and contented. But this contentment starts radiating from his mind and purity. Therefore, where is the question of expecting anything at all? Nachasya sarvabhuteshu kaschid arthavyapashraya. My dear viewers, at least think about it. You are a human. You have a body. You have senses also. This much you know. But I want to tell you that you have, besides this, a mind, which you don't know. An intelligence, that also you don't know. There is an ego. Besides these three, you have the I. The I. Which I? The sleeping I. After 16 hours of intense wakefulness, what do? You want to sleep. How many things may wait for you? Even then, I am going to sleep, the day is off. Where from did you wake up? From sleep. And from waking up, where are you going to? To sleep again. And in sleep, what is there? Only the sleeper. Is there any body, mind, intelligence, ego, world? Nothing. The rich man sleeps, the poor man also does. The afflicted sleeps, the peaceful also sleeps. Animals sleep, birds sleep, humans also sleep. In sleep, there is nothing other than the sleeper. In one sense, it's a state of nothing and nowhere. The I alone remains there. If the I alone can remain successfully and beautifully, to get up and to say, I comfortably slept, where from the comfort came? Nachasya sarvabhuteshu kaschid arthavyapashraya. Reflect upon the sleeping eye. The eye which wants nothing, which had nothing. Naiva tasya kritena artho na kriteneha kaschana nachasya sarvabhuteshu kaschid arthavyapashraya. So while Sri Krishna emphasizes that everyone has got the obligation to perform yajna and world welfare depends upon the yajna coordinate of the human society, Prajapati has enjoined upon everyone to be performing yajna. All this he says, but understand that in our country there are a few people who are given to self-realization, contemplation upon their own self, the essence of Sanatana Dharma. For those people, this injunction is not applicable at all. Drishtva vedyam paramathapadam swatma bodhaswarupam buddhvatmanam sakalavapusham ekamantarvihitham bhutva nityam saduditataya swaprakashaswarupam nistrayi gunye pathi vicharada ko vidhi ko nishedha. I must have spoken to you sometime about Shukashtaka, 8 verses composed by Shuka Maharshi. It always has the 4th line in this manner. Nistrayi gunye pathi vicharada ko vidhi ko nishedha. I am traveling on the path of Nistrayi gunya. You know, Krishna exhorted Arjuna, Traigunya Vishaya Veda, Nistrayi Gunyo Bhava Arjuna, Nirdvandvo, Nitya Sattvastho, Niryoga Kshema, Atmavan. The entire Vedas are dealing with only Triguna products. Our earth and earthly life is already a Trigunatmika process. Then why are we looking for heaven, etc.? There also it is Trigunatmikatva. So the Vedas have nothing more and better to give you than what you already have. Therefore, be indifferent to the Vedas. Traigunya Vishaya Vedaha Nistrayi Gunyo Bhava Arjuna. That Nistrayi Gunya, Shuka Maharshi is referring to. Nistrayi Gunye Pati Vicharataha. For one who travels, who meanders in the path of Nistrayi Gunya, Ko Vidhi, Ko Nishedha, where is any injunction or prohibition? The entire shastras keep away from such a self-fulfilled person. What is his perception? Drishtva Vedyam Paramathapadam Swatma Bodhaswarupam Drishtva Vedyam Param Atha Padam Swatma Bodhaswarupam. He has already seen the supreme abode, which is supposed to be hunted and gained. He has already seen it. That is the only thing to be known. All the other things are objects. This is the only one that is remaining as a subject. So one has to know it. After having known Swatma Bodha Swarupam, how do they know it? They know it as I. Every one of us refers to an I. That I is no other than Drishtva Vedyam Param Athapadam, the supreme abode. Buddhatmanam Sakala Vapusham Ekamandar Behistam. By knowing it, one has known the supreme self, equally present in all bodies, inside as well as outside. Realizing the self means realizing a presence which is inside and outside, which is limitless, infinite, indescribable, which is blissful, unborn, undying, untransforming, which cannot be acted upon, which is unaffected, eternal, absolute. After having realized it, known it, Bhutva Nityam Saduditataya Swaprakasha Swarupam. Once you have realized the self, what is the state? Always the self is present in you. It produces thoughts, it produces feelings, it produces emotions, it produces inquiries, it provides reasons, it has findings. Everything is its revelation. Every time something or the other will be rising within your body in the sphere of the mind. Bhutva Nityam Samuditataya Swaprakasha Swarupam Nistrayi Gunye Pati Vicharata Ko Vidhi Ko Nishedha. For one who travels in this Nistrayi Gunya path, where is the question of doing anything or not doing anything? He becomes like Brahman. You cannot say anything about Brahman at all. In the same manner, for such a person, there is nothing like an injunction that he should be performing yajna or something else. Having explained the greatness of the yajna, the supremacy of the yajna spirit, how it contributes to the world economic welfare, how it also bestows the internal spiritual crowning. He says, Tasmadasaktas sadatam karyam karma samajara asakto hyacharan karma paramapnodi purusha. This is verse number 19. A very, very important verse. Recite it. Tasmadasaktas sadatam
Tasmadasaktas
karyam karma samachara
karyam karma samachara
asakto hyacharan karma
asakto hyacharan karma
paramapnoti purushaha
paramapnoti purushaha
paramapnoti purushaha
paramapnoti purushaha.
Therefore, having explained the greatness, the magnitude, the magnificence of Yajna, he says, live in this world as asakta. Have no clinging at all to anything whatsoever, either to your body, or to your mind, or to your intelligence, or to your ego, or to the world. Nothing. Karyam karma samachara. As long as you have your body and embodiment, some kind of a work or activity will become necessary. It can be a personal act, a familial act, a societal act, a professional act, maybe a religious act. Any kind of an act, whatever comes to be done, simply do it, and do it well, beautifully, markedly, so that all people will find it very alluring, very exemplary. Be not idle at all, and do not be given to second-rate performances. Always excel in what you do. Karyam karma samachara. Asakto hyacharan karma. One who is given to any kind of an activity, intense activity, asaktaha, having no clinging in his action, paramapnoti purushaha, that human attains the supreme abode. Tell me now, what is the means to attain the supreme? It is not at all in taking up any special activity, not at all. It is only in doing whatever you do, without clinging, taking away the sangha that you have. Be like air, be like space, be like God. This is what is required. Our body is limited, but our mind, intelligence and the soul are not. Why don't you be after your mind, intelligence and soul? Why should you be after your body? Tasmad asaktas sadatam karyam karma samachara asakto hyacharan karma paramapnoti purushaha. Make no difference between religious and non-religious acts. All are acts done by your body. What is required is to take away the sangha element. That clingingness which you have, take it away and be free, frank, full-hearted in doing whatever you propose to do or you are doing. That is sufficient. You can attain the supreme. Now what is this way now? This is the way of activity. One is a contemplational life, for which you prefer a solitude. Here there is no such exclusive contemplation or even solitude. Whatever work you are generally doing, do it. Do it well, effectively, perseveringly. But in doing so, do not have any clinging at all. Dropping the clinging is the renunciation that we want to achieve here. Let me stop. Jayati Jayati Devo Devaki Nandanoyam Jayati Jayati Krishno Vrishnivaṁsha Pradipaha Jayati Jayati Meghashyamala Komalango Jayati Jayati Prithvi Bharanasho Mukunda Jayati Jayati Prithvi Bharanasho Mukundaha. Harihi, Harihi, Harihi. We shall have the conclusional Omkara jointly, as usual. Harihi Om Tas. Jai Guru. Jai Guru.